Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz, your host of the Raiders Report, and coming up on today's show, I know it is way too early to be looking at a Raiders 53-man roster projection, but you know what? These are the type of things that I like to do, especially after a big event like the NFL Draft. I like to be able to imagine myself sitting down in a room with John Spytek, Pete Carroll, Tom Brady, and going, these are the 53 players that I believe would make this roster right now, and that's exactly what you're going to see on today's show. I'm going to go depth chart by depth chart, and the numbers that you are going to see next to the players' names is going to be me literally counting out the players that I am keeping. So here as it stands right now is our Raiders quarterback room. We got 4 QBs, and I'm just going to be real. Actually, we have 5 quarterbacks. Carter Bradley is also on this depth chart. I would sit up here and I would go, the Raiders are only going to keep 3 quarterbacks, and I don't think that anybody is surprised by me saying that. You know, it's going to be Geno. I would keep AOC, and I would keep Cam Miller. But I would only keep 3 quarterbacks because you also, God forbid, in worst case scenario, have somebody like Tommy Mellot that could come in and play QB. Let's now go to the running back room here, and what's really going to be interesting is if this team decides to keep a fullback in Conroy, who is a UDFA, but he is an absolute athletic specimen. If I'm keeping the running backs that I want to keep, I'm only keeping 4 of those backs. I'm going to keep Ashton, Jeanty, obviously. You got Raheem Mostert, Sincere McCormick, and Dylan Laube. I'm only keeping 4 running backs because of how confident I am in somebody along the lines of Ashton Jeanty. Let's now go to the wide receiver room here in Jacoby Myers, Jack Bech, Trey Tucker. These are the easy ones that this organization is going to end up keeping. From a 53-man roster projection standpoint, I'm going to keep 5 names that are obvious. The last name might be a little bit of a peculiar one, and it's Kyle Phillips. That is the very first ever recruit that Chip Kelly had for UCLA, and I think because of that, he's going to be somebody that ends up making this roster. Before we get into the tight ends, a quick word from our sponsor. Raider Nation, very excited to announce we got a brand new sponsor here on the Raiders Report. Huge shout out to Temu for hooking up Raider Nation with a special promotion. Today's Temu deal is you can get 5 products for free by following these simple steps. Download the Temu app, search code DWH4868. That's code DWH4868 in the Temu app. You get 5 of the products you ordered for free by inviting your friends and family to download the app. It's that simple. The promotion is open to everyone, so share it with your friends and family members to take advantage of this awesome offer. I have used Temu in the past. I've been able to get shoes. I've been able to get totally different types of jackets, and if my fiance loves them, I think that you guys are going to love them too. Also, my dog Chuck loves this bed. So download the Temu app, search code DWH4868. That's code DWH4868 in the Temu app. You get 5 of the products you order for free by inviting your friends and family to download the app. It's that simple. I'm also going to put the link in the comments and description of today's show, so if you're looking for something to click, that's going to be down there for the nation. Let's now look at the tight ends here for the Silver and Black. And as it stands right now, the Las Vegas Raiders, if my math is mathing correctly, technically have 7 tight ends on this roster. Brock Bowers is the big name here, and I know that the Raiders went out and added a few UDFAs, and, they went out and signed Ishmael before the draft, or maybe it was literally like right before the draft or right before day 2. I'm only going to keep 3 tight ends, though, and the reason why I'm going with this route is because the defense, to me, is a little bit more of a unknown commodity from a linebacker standpoint, from a defensive tackle standpoint, from a nickel cornerback standpoint, from a safety standpoint. So where I know I have studs, running back Ashton Jeanty, stud, 4 running backs. Usually teams keep 5. Tight end, no, I got a stud in Brock Bowers, and I think I got another really damn good young tight end in Michael Mayer. For those reasons, I'm only going to keep 3 tight ends. Let's now go to the offensive line, and John Spytek clearly, and I mean clearly, values the trenches, and there is a lot of good depth here, and because I know how important it is to have a good running game with Ashton Jeanty and to protect Geno Smith, I believe that the Raiders end up keeping at least 9 offensive linemen. So knowing that going into this exercise, I said, who are the best 9 offensive linemen that the Raiders have? And I believe that these are those names. You're going to keep Colt Miller, Dylan Parham, JPJ, Alex Kappa, DJ Glaze. You're going to obviously keep Jordan Meredith, Charles Grant, Caleb Rogers. I'll be real, though. I could make an argument for Dalton Wagner. I could make an argument for a few of the UDFAs. Thayer Munford, I will still say is offensive lineman number 9, but because he doesn't really have any ties to this organization, who knows? Maybe he makes it, maybe he doesn't. If the season were to start today, I would put Thayer Munford on that 53-man roster projection. Before we get into the defensive side of the football, where if you're counting along with me, we're going to have more defenders than we do offensive players, but that's because I have more confidence in our offense as it stands right now. If you don't already know, we're doing an Ashton Jeanty jersey raffle in the month of May, and I know that not everybody has the opportunity to watch our shows live, so you're going to have 2 opportunities in the month of May to get in. You could send in a $5 super chat while we were live, then you in. If you're not able to watch us live, because I get it, there's a lot of busy people out there, send in a $5 super thanks to be entered. We will end up announcing a winner on Friday, May 30th. Good luck to everybody out there, and we will acknowledge the super thanks on shows. That way, for those of you that send them in, you'll either see them on a live or I'll also put them on another video, maybe something like this. Let's go to the defensive side of the football here, and Mad Max, easy. Malcolm Kuntz, easy. Tyree Wilson, it's easy. Though after that is kind of where it gets a little bit interesting. To me, I look at this roster and I go, who do I think has the most upside? Who do I think has the highest traits that if you get them in the room and you coach them the best way, they are going to be the player that makes a difference? I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's Andre Carter II. And just looking at the way that the Raiders went about their UDFA signings, about the way that the Raiders went and drafted, they went with a lot of guys that are athletes, a lot of guys that have traits. And I think Andre Carter is a good fit to that. Sneaky player also is the UDFA Ja Joyner. Keep him in mind. Though the only reason why I don't have Charles Snowden on this list because he's got a court case July 22nd. If everything goes well with that court case and the Raiders are okay with everything that ends up going down from that DUI case, then I actually think that Charles Snowden will end up making this roster. But if I was doing it right now, I'd keep Andre Carter over Snowden because of that reason. Let's go to defensive tackle. Wilkins, Butler, Tonka, Hemingway. Obviously, these are kind of easy to me. But I mentioned trenches earlier, and this is going to be a team that wants to be able to beat the shit out of you in the trenches, especially with their defensive tackles. So because of that, you're going to see a lot of rotations, just like they did last season, because the Raiders are also a team that does, 5 defensive line fronts. So because of that, if I'm only going to keep 4 defensive ends, I need to be able to keep 6 defensive tackles. And the 6 defensive tackles that I'm keeping are the 2 rookies that they drafted this past year in Hemingway and Pegues. Also, John Lalu is a big boy who they like a lot. Adam Butler, Wilkins, easy. And then they also went out and they signed Lecky Fotu this offseason. And just based on the bodies, this is the body of work that I would see that the Raiders keeping at defensive tackle. Let's now go to the linebacker room. And linebacker, this could go a multitude of different ways, man. And because we have so many spots to fill, and because I don't know exactly what the Raiders are going to do at the linebacker position, and if I had to make a 53-man roster on this current day, I would say that the Raiders end up keeping 6 linebackers. I also said this last year that I could see the Raiders keeping more LBs, only for the reason of the new kick return and the punt return rules. It kind of benefits to have athletic linebackers, which the Raiders do have. But you went out, you drafted Cody Lindenberg, Landon Roberts, Devin White, and then between Amari Gaynor, Amari Burney, and Tommy Eichenberg, they're all going to be fighting, I would say, for that linebacker 3, linebacker 4, hell, maybe even linebacker 2 spot. But if you told me this team can only keep 5 linebackers this season, I would say buckle up and get ready for a hell of a competition between Amari Gaynor, Amari Burney, and Tommy Eichenberg. I got to give a shout-out to the Noti Gang. If you don't know what the Noti Gang is, it's people that are subscribed and people that are absolute real ones. I mean, let's be real here, right? Like, y'all are watching a 53-man roster video in the month of May. That's a real one in itself. But I also love to be able to give shout-outs to people that not only are subscribed, that comment on my videos quickly when a video goes out there. It tells me that you're watching, and it's actually the easiest way for me to be able to see a name and, also be able to see it not on a live show, but be able to see it down in the comments. So a huge shout-out to Rory, Lewis, Christian, Malachi, Jeff Garcia, Jeff and Malachi. I feel like are always a part of the Noti Gang. Let's go to the cornerback depth chart here in the cornerback room for the Raiders, where there's a lot of unknown commodities in this bunch as well. Like, I want to be able to be confident in this Raiders defense, but I also got to be able to stay true to myself, and I think that, nickel, free safety, and linebacker are our 3 biggest needs, as it stands right now. I like our athleticness, and I like how long and lanky our corners are, but I still think we have a major team need at nickel. And I'm even looking at this 53 roster right now, and just with the 5 names that I was able to keep, this makes me nervous because if, God forbid, Darnay Holmes goes down, right, and this is your roster on game day, I don't know exactly who you're going to put at nickel. Maybe you decide to put in a Isaiah Polamalu in there at nickel, but then who goes back and plays free safety? Jacorian Bennett, Eric Stokes, Darien Porter, and then DeCamerion Richardson are the easy names that I would keep, and you have to keep Darnay because he's your top nickel guy right now. But this cornerback room, there's some talent here, but there's a lot of unproven talent here. Let's go to the safety room, and same thing, a lot of unproven talent in this silver and black secondary. Jeremy Chin is a strong safety linebacker hybrid. I think Isaiah Polamalu is more of a strong safety, kind of play up in the box guy. We still need to add a free safety, in my personal opinion, but there is some good special teams value to be had. Unfortunately, I don't think Harper and Chris Smith end up making the cut because if you're counting along with me, I can only keep 4 safeties, and if I can only keep 4 safeties, I'm going to keep Jeremy Chin, Isaiah Polamalu. Easy there. Lonnie Johnson Jr. is a player that has a really good relationship with Marcus Robinson, our cornerback coach, DB coach, but also Lonnie Johnson is a good special teams player. And then I'm going to keep the Jim Thorpe Award winner in Trey Taylor because he's got a solid head on his shoulders. From a special team standpoint, here are the 3 people: Daniel Carlson, A.J. Cole, and Jacob Bobenmoyer. Like, our depth chart also can show, kick return, punt return, or Tommy Mellot, Dylan Laube. I would say Trey Tucker would all be mixed and matched into that equation for those positions. But Daniel, you're going to be the kicker. A.J. Cole going to be the punter, and Jacob Bobenmoyer is going to be the long snapper if the season were to start right now. And I think oftentimes we don't talk about those guys all the time, which honestly is a good thing. Like, if you're not talking about your special teams unit, that means you have a good special teams unit, as far as I'm concerned. So I know I left some people off the list, and this was actually a difficult show to do, but in all honesty, I'm happy that it was difficult. I'm happy that this year was probably the most difficult year I've ever had in trimming down a 53-man roster. And we got 91 guys on the roster at the time I'm making this video right now. To get it all the way down to 53, technically 54 again, David Agoa, International Pathway Program player, it was extremely, extremely tough. But that just tells me Pete Carroll and John Spytek are doing the right thing. So please let me know down below who I left off my list. I would say the top 10 guys of the most difficult to leave off my list, it was these 10 names right here. Tyreek McAllister, I think, is just a phenomenal athlete, and maybe he's a good fit. Christian Wilkerson, I doubt every offseason, and yet he just makes the team every year. Zamir White, maybe if they keep 5 running backs, could be a name to keep in mind there. Will Putnam, Charles Snowden, Ja Joyner, a UDFA. Zach Carter, big body defensive tackle. Thomas Harper, Chris Smith, and Sam Webb. Though all these players, I would say, would end up being on the Raiders practice squad outside of Zamir White. I think Zamir White doesn't want to be a Raider, and I would say Zeus wants to go somewhere else this season. I appreciate all y'all that made it this far in the video. And like I said earlier, if you're watching a 53-man roster projection video, I mean this the most respectful way possible, you're a sicko. But I love sickos because sickos are the people that watch this show in May and watch this show in June, watch this show in July, and I respect the hell out of it. So if you're a real one, give me a real one down below. And if you're a real one, send this to some other Raider fans. Tell them to hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 200,000 subs by the time I get married, which is June 6th. It's right around the corner.